Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everyone. My name is Karine, and today I will share with you the content of my research, which is on the data-driven approach for the development and validation of an evidence-based training (EBT) program for airline pilots. So it's a pretty complicated title, but I will go through it slowly, and it won't be so much complicated at the end. So, there we go. Before we get into it, I'd like to share a bit of my background with you. So I studied in psychology at McGill, and then I worked as a human factors specialist at Bombardier for about 5 years, during which I completed a master's degree in industrial engineering. Then I was selected for the Young Aviation Professional Program, which allowed me to work during a whole year with 3 major aviation organizations. Then I was hired by one of them as a senior analyst at the International Air Transport Association to work on EBT topics. And I loved it so much that I decided to tackle a PhD on the subject, which I'm very excited to share with you now. So let's start about pilot training. So EBT arose from the concern that current pilot training programs were no longer meeting the needs of airline operations. So each year, airline pilots have to undergo a recurrent training to validate their license, right? So the way the pilots are currently evaluated is with the tick box approach. So the pilots and the evaluator go into the flight simulator, and the evaluator has a long list of maneuvers that the pilot has to go through and complete. And the evaluator ticks each box as they go through the list of situations in the sim. So in that situation, there's nothing new to the pilots there. They know exactly the content of the list on which they'll be evaluated and what is expected from them. So now the question is, how does that prepare them for like real life operations where there are countless possible situations in flight? So in the real flight, there's an infinite number of emergencies or combinations of emergencies that can happen, and the pilots can't all be trained on all of the possible situations. So right now, pilots are being trained at repeating maneuvers with the tick box approach that they've done in the past. But shouldn't they instead be trained at managing situations that they've never practiced or encountered before? So that's where evidence-based training comes in. So EBT focuses on developing pilot competencies in order to foster resilience, which is the ability of the crew to deal calmly and efficiently with unexpected situations. So on the right side of the slide, you can see the 8 official International Civil Aviation Organization competencies on the table on the right. So EBT differs from the tick box approach in 2 main ways. First, it focuses on developing and evaluating pilots on their overall capability as pilots, which can be measured with the competencies instead of going through a long list of maneuvers. And second, pilots can complete their training when they've reached the desired level of performance across their competencies, rather than completing a targeted number of flight hours. For example, the FAA in the US demands pilots to have completed 1,500 hours before they can take the exam for their airline transport pilot license, which can be very long and very expensive. So the EBT has the potential to see pilots reach the desired level of performance faster and better. So as a recap, we'll compare the 2 training. So the traditional training, the evaluator has a long list of checks that they have to go through. If the pilots fail one of them, the instructor will share the reason why, and they will most likely redo it the next day and have all the boxes ticked off. EBT on the right side uses pilot competencies. So the instructor evaluates the pilot's competencies, so as you can see on the blue line, and if there are any competency that's a bit weak, then the instructor can provide targeted training to increase the competency to the targeted level of performance desired, which is usually the operational performance that the airline needs. So recently, EBT has been an innovative training method that can produce pilots better and faster. So airlines around the world have been progressively implementing EBT since 2014. And there are currently over 50 companies, airlines and flight schools and manufacturers who have implemented EBT in their training programs. However, there has been no scientific studies made in control environment that has compared each training method, one versus the other. There's no proof that one is more efficient than the other. No studies has investigated the pros and the cons of each. So there's a lack in research on this topic. And for my PhD, I aim to fulfill this in my research. So how? By doing a proof of concept. So it would be to develop a pilot EBT program based on data analysis and evaluate it against evaluate its effectiveness in flight simulators. So first, we need to analyze the safety trends to select a operational risk that we will target. Second, we develop the EBT adaptive training program to mitigate for that specific operational risk. Third, we would test the EBT program with pilots in the flight simulator and evaluate its effectiveness at answering the selected risk. And a possible fourth step, which I don't think I'll be able to complete my PhD because it'll be long. It means to monitor the performance of a large number of pilots and airlines and for 6 months, for a year, multiple years to see the progress. So this is possible for any industrial partners to do, but I think it's like out of the scope of my PhD, which I hope to finish in 3 to 4 years. So currently we have IATA and CAE who have confirmed their partnership with my research project. And we are looking for an airline to join us and to provide only in-kind contributions, such as flight data and pilots. The proposition value that we offer are the following. So it will be beneficial for the industry because we will be able to bridge scientific evidence and adaptive training to reduce operational risks in multiple areas of aviation. Second, we would be able to publish commercial publications. So the findings and the results can be published for revenue. And we will also write articles for journals with which it provide exposure. Next, airline and flight schools will be able to provide adaptive, customized training to target specific operational risks. And all partners would have access for the development of EBT pilot training methodologies. So once again, we're looking for an airline partner to join our team. We're at the very beginning of the research. So if there are any airlines in the crowd and who are interested, please let me know. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you all for your time and your attention. And here are my contacts for any further information.